Let's talk about, if you saw the headline, the two big issues happening this morning related to President Trump in court, which again, feels like this is a repeat, feels like this is ad nauseum. We've heard this so many times. When these guys told me what they wanted to do this morning for our topic, I rolled my eyes and said, do we have to do this again? But yes, because there are two big breaking news items out of this. So let's start, though, with the Fani Willis situation. Why don't we just start with an update of what's going on? And Harry, you can kind of give people a breakdown on this, because at this situation, essentially the court has granted and said, yes, we at least are going to now consider the fact that she should not be on this.
Absolutely. So I think if you look at the central case affecting Fani Willis, I think it's clear beyond question that there was indeed a conflict of interest between her and the special prosecutor with whom she had a relationship. The lower court judge, Judge McAfee, declined to disqualify Fani Willis, but he allowed Donald Trump and the other defendants to bring an appeal to the Georgia Court of Appeals, which has now been granted. So this means they will hear the case. It also means that Fani Willis could indeed still be disqualified, and it's possible that the case could be taken away from the Fulton County prosecutor, given to another prosecutor, and then that prosecutor could decide to dismiss the case. So it's a very important decision. It's a big win for Donald Trump and his fellow defendants, and I think we will have to see what the Georgia Court of Appeals does with it.
For a timeline, this could kick it down the road pretty significantly, or it could be ruled fairly quickly. They said they've how many days to respond?
So President Trump has to actually docket the appeal within 10 days, and then he has 20 days from docketing it to get essentially his merits brief, his first appeal brief in on this case. But I also had a question for Professor Hutchison. Because this was an interlocutory appeal, it wasn't after a final judgment in a case.
We need to stop and say, what does that mean?
Right, but essentially, if you appeal a final judgment, like you have been convicted,
right,
that you automatically have the right to appeal. Interlocutory appeal means it's something within the case, and therefore it's not a given that you can even appeal it. Is there anything you can read into the fact that the higher court accepted this appeal when it didn't necessarily have to?
Yes, I think you can. I think you can assume that the court believes that there is at least some merit to the appeal. So in other words, they're not going to waste their time on a frivolous case. So certainly when we followed the case before Judge McAfee, there were clear grounds, including an odor of mendacity, which infected the trial and the proposed trial at the lower court level. I think District Attorney Fani Willis has not basically complied with professional standards, and I think most people would agree with that. And I think the Georgia Court of Appeals, in some respects, is agreeing with that possibility at least. Doesn't mean that they are going to rule in favor of Donald Trump and the fellow defendants, but I think he has a shot. And my own assessment is that he has a better than 50-50 chance of prevailing before the Court of Appeals.